Well, greetings and salutations, everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host once again, Dan Thornton. And yes, I'm half awake this morning. But hey, I want to make it in time to get it on the air for all you guys. We got a Victory Sunday going on. Man, the fan base, as emotional as we may have been in the recent weeks, and we starting to wonder if this team been figured out and where things were going as far as the future. Well, I think we can all say this. We're waking up today and we're feeling pretty good about the Detroit Lions, not just the season as a whole, but now our playoff possibilities and our chances to win the NFC North. I know this comment section is going to be moving and shaking, and I haven't had a Mountain Dew yet, so I apologize. I might be a little off today. I didn't get a ton of sleep after last night's game and then the post-game show with the Sarge. But anyways, before we get into that, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. I think we're down to like 5 or something like that. I don't even know offhand. We're all down to a couple needed more subs to hit 4,800. And then obviously the drive from here on out before the playoffs is to get this channel to 5,000 subs. If you haven't yet hit the subscription button, pretty pleased with Sugar on Top, consider doing so. Also, if you're liking the show, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. One last thing before I get moving and shaking into today's commentary and chats with you guys. If you're looking to buy or sell property in the state of Michigan, anywhere in the state of Michigan, give me a call, shoot me a text, 269-998-2384. Let me see if I can help work for you and save you some money. All right, now with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get to the comment section and get this thing moving and shaking. Miles, what do you got? 10-4, yeah. And just think, man, we were coming into last night's game. Probably half the fan base at least was thinking we weren't going to win that game. This, the season was crumbling down. It was all doom and gloom. I get it. We all probably get it. That would be the most Lions thing, right? Based on the history of the last 60 or so years. But we'll give this team credit. They found a way to not just win, but man, they put a beat down on the Broncos. Booth 10-4. Good morning, Duke Crew. Same to you, man. What a morning it is, man. Everything feels and tastes just a little bit better after a victory, especially an impressive one like that. I'm going to enjoy watching that replay. Robert, greetings and salutations to all. Same to you, Robert. Hopefully you're having a great one. Robert, did you see Bugs sprinting down the field? I'm sure Gibbs, not sure if Gibbs could keep up with him. Man, he put in some work, and, you want to talk about somebody who's impactful on a team. Maybe it doesn't always show up in the stats, but he really helps galvanize a team. That's someone like Isaiah Bugs. His personality, his energy, you could say his leadership. Now, whatever it may have been between him and Aaron Glenn, I've talked about it, what I seen or know that happened as far as the disagreements. I'm going to throw a question at you guys. Is part of the disagreements, and there's no way for anybody to know, so this is just pure speculation on my part, so keep that in mind. It was the disagreement that ultimately led to him getting quote-unquote suspended or put to the sideline for whatever it was, 6 weeks of the season, was because him and maybe some of the players wanted a defense that played more like this. And, I think we all get they don't have elite personnel out there, that they don't have the top corners or whatever. But, man, like we've talked about, it seems like for over a year on this channel, when you play aggressive, when you play assertive, yes, you're going to get beat from time to time, but you force other teams into predictable situations. You force them to play back on their heels. You force quarterbacks to throw a little bit faster than they want to. You force people to think under duress, under pressure. And you know what? Even the best of us make mistakes in those situations. And that's when I'm going to say this, and probably going on too much about this, but I could have been more happy with last night's defensive performance if I tried. All right, JDC, good morning, all. Another one bites the dust. I wish I could play that during the show because that would be appropriate, wouldn't it? But I know I'd probably get somebody blowing me up about copyrights and all that jazz. All right, Ed W., the dew is blue today. I like that, man. Great win. Yeah, I'm going to be taking off to the Circle K and having a dew here after this show. Southwest, finally, more integration of Gibbs and JMO in the passing game. Yeah, it showed, didn't it? Offensive line gave Goff time to throw, and man, did he deliver. 5 touchdowns, No INTs. Yeah, no turnovers whatsoever, Southwest. You're 100% right. They came out, they found ways. I mean, it's almost like, they were listening to all of our commentary about playing Iffy more, getting Jacobs out of the lineup and playing some of the other guys. Dorsey, and I haven't watched the replay yet. Sorry, guys. When I got done with the post-game show, I went to bed. But, Dorsey, Vildor, those guys, they played well. And they allowed us to be able to play more man coverage. So that was one of the things I noticed early in the game and I know I mentioned it last night after this game, we looked more like last year's defense because we made it tougher to complete passes because, we played some zone, but it just wasn't all zone all game long. And, yeah, I'm happy with what happened last night. And you're right, Southwest. All right, Robert, not sure what Russell Wilson did. Sean Payton was certainly having a conversation. So it'd be my guess, because obviously I wasn't on the field, but I think Sean Payton wanted Russell to not snap it so fast. That way they get something set up a little bit more. That would have been a component. Would it have changed the outcome of the game? Probably not. But could they have made it potentially a little bit closer? At that point in the game, yes, that is possible. Quitting, what do you got? Greetings and salutations, y'all. Coach, go to sleep. Haha, you put in some work. Hey, I enjoy doing this show with you guys, man. So I might need a full Mountain Dew instead of a half one today. But yeah, I'm glad to be here on the channel with you guys. Ed, what do you got? Woo! Good morning, Coach. What a great game. I'd like to hear from everyone who gets your game ball. I'm giving one to Goff. Goff, the offensive line, and I'm just going to say the whole defense. It's hard to really not pick on stuff. You can just say, man, give one to the team, the whole team, because they all played great last night. We all get Goff is vastly different when he's not protected. We also everybody gets that's just about every quarterback in the league. But I will say this, it is clear you give Goff 2 to 3, maybe 4 seconds on average, he's going to pick you apart. He's never going to outrun anybody getting out of the pocket. It isn't physically capable of him. I was talking to Sarge after the postgame show last night. Goff's not going anywhere anytime soon. And I will say this, I think I might have an idea what Brad Holmes is thinking about doing with Jared Goff's future. We'll save that for another time. All right, Southwest. If he was outstanding, I'd say he is our second best safety after C.J. Gardner-Johnson. Yeah, and when C.J. returns in a week or so, I just wonder where you're going to move everybody. Kirby Joseph is probably going to start. If this kid might have been here where he is now, at least last week and this week, sooner if he just didn't have injury after injury after injury. Let's be honest, this kid has been snake bitten for the majority of his NFL career. He's shown some flashes when he was younger or first in the league, but now that seems to be fairly healthy and out on the field, he gives you more coverage out of the safety position, especially in man-to-man. He's long, he's lengthy. He's learned some things, and yeah, you're going to have this secondary all of a sudden with the addition of Iffy and C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You're starting to look at something that's pretty deep and actually got some depth. Boo, you got that was Sean Rogers flashback for Bugs. Yeah, that's a good call, man. Yeah, Sean Rogers. He was a dominant defensive tackle. Yeah, it was too bad we lost him after a while. Lions, what do you got? Where do you put CJ when he returns? We might be getting crowded in the secondary. I'm not 100% sure, but you're going to have, I'll put this, you're going to have some options to be able to move some guys around because a lot of these guys can play more than just safety. Obviously, if he was a corner, so could you play him as a number 3 corner / safety? Sure. You could do that with CJ. You could do that with Brian Branch. You got some real flexibility out there. All right, Magic 8 Ball says, woo! JDC, I'm not going to get tired of that today. Brother Ken, the Broncos could now be called the Geldings because the Lions emasculated them. Yeah, and I got to imagine where you're living, Ken. Man, there got to be a lot of less than happy Denver fans this morning. All right, Ed, what do you got? Does anyone have JMO stats for the game? I don't offhand. I'm sure somebody could look him up real quick, but that was a great game for him. I mean, maybe no home run plays for him, but you know what? He looked like a legit NFL wide receiver last night. All right, Southwest, please keep Iffy off special teams. I noticed he was in there after they made it 42-17. He's starting now and is too valuable a piece on defense to risk on special teams. Yeah, I got to imagine they'll be revisiting that. But, I mean, you got to get 11 dudes out there. It'll be interesting to see who they do put out there. Michael, what do you got? We're back, baby. 100%. Yeah, the Lions fan base is going to be feeling a whole lot different this next week if you tune into radio stations or YouTube stations or whatever. Yeah, there's going to be a massively different feel than over just 48 hours ago. AJ, what do you got? We get Houston back along with CJ and McNeil. This defense could be something. You're not wrong. You look at Bugs being back, McNeil, probably in about 2 more weeks he's back. That'd be at least my hope or guess. And then, yeah, if you get Houston back and whenever CJ is actually clear to play, whether that's, this upcoming weekend or the following weekend, you start having some depth at places. Guys start getting some rest. And I will say this, I was happy last night that I saw Aiden Hutchinson on the field less. That meant he was getting a little bit more rest or breaks. And I don't say why he didn't get a sack last night. I thought he was effective. He got some pressures. He got Russell Wilson to have to scramble a couple times. It is possible in the next month or so before the playoffs, he kind of recovers some of his weariness and he becomes a lot more effective player. But what do you got? Early deep shots to James Mo loosened up the Broncos coverage. 100%. I know we talked about it in the post-game show, and we've been talking about it for forever on the channel. Too many teams are just playing underneath coverage on us, some man over the top, and just do not have any fear of us taking them deep. That may change after last night, especially if Ben Johnson appears to have woken up and say, hey, I get everybody's giving us the deep shots and we're simply not taking it. Hey, this could really be the start of something. And really, the offense we thought the Lions would have all season long, this might be the first real step towards it where you do have to guard the whole field against them. And that's a good thing. All right, Nathan, what do you got? What a statement win. Morning Duke crew. Bunch of happy people today. I don't think you're wrong, man. Everybody's going to be feeling pretty good. And I'm going to guess we're all going to be watching a whole lot more non-Lions NFL football today. We're going for that rooting guide because if Seattle loses today, I know that's one of the scenarios. They lose today, the Lions have secured a playoff spot. I don't think there's a way they can secure the North today, but they can secure a playoff spot. All right, Stephanie, what do you got? Good morning. Morning to you. Angie Melifano had a great game. Go Lions. Yeah, he did. He really did. He'll be the talk of the town probably for a week or so in social media and other forms of media. All right, traditional media. That's what I should have said. Stephanie, what do you got? Victory Sunday? Yes, it is. And it's a great one at that. Southwest finally, AG shows some creativity. I think he finally gets it. They have to blitz more, and they did. I like that that it was largely DB blitzes. There was more speed to get to the quarterback. Yeah, and you're 100% right. They were either cornerback blitzes or safety blitzes, and you are correct. You're going to have somebody probably running closer to a 4-4, 4-3 versus a 4-5, 4-6 going after him. Yeah, Brother Ken, Aaron Glenn finally woke up and created some blitz packages. He did, and he put some real heat on. The one that really surprised me is I want to say it was Kendall Vildor. Don't hold me to that. But, I mean, you had him, or Aaron Glenn had him blitz from the interior slot cornerback position. That's a haul. That's somebody who's got to cover some ground in a hurry. But you did it from the blind side of Russell Wilson, and that kind of helped mask it. And while it didn't fully get there, yeah, it busted up that play. I mean, if the Lions start getting creative like this where it's harder to tell who's coming from where, they could really have something. And maybe, who knows, maybe they get both games against the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, I don't even want to dare say, hey, can we win 3 in a row to maybe finish in the second seed? Who knows? Maybe the first seed. I mean, that seems like a conversation for another day. But at least today we're having, could this happen versus, Friday where everybody was like, nah, you shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people are like, that will never happen. All right, Nathan, when we show pressure, we looks like it helps our defense. Yeah, 100%. You can't just let quarterbacks keep dropping back and picking you apart. I'm not going to beat on it today. I'm just going to say this. I'm happy to see the brand new Detroit Lions defense. All right, Southwest. Next step in AG's development will be disguising who blitzes. But last night, it was his best game by far. Yeah, but that's what we've talked about all along. We've got some lesser experienced coaches on this staff. You just want to keep see that they're progressing. And I'll give credit to AG and Ben Johnson because I think they both got stagnant for the better part of a month. They were very predictable, and everybody in this chat probably can agree with that. Teams were figuring you out, and last night, you came out and you blew the top off Ford Field. You were rolling dice. Hey, you were mixing things up all the time, and you could see Denver was not prepared for that. All right, now we got greetings and salutations. How quickly the fan base will change. Hey, that's just how it goes, man. But fortunately for us, it changed in a good way. All right, Ed, I'm looking at winning out. Why not? Why not, indeed, man? You play like you did last night. I mean, every team we're going to face is on notice right now. Minnesota, who knows who they're going to have at quarterback? I can't foretell that, but I would say this: you put pressure on people. I don't care who you are. You will make mistakes eventually. And I put it this way: who cares if you get a couple drives and scores if you also get some turnovers? It's going to be almost impossible to stop any NFL team from scoring. It doesn't mean it can't happen, but when you can get turnovers, you offset some of the things you do or some of your deficiencies. And you know what? I'm looking forward to this. Bruce, what do you got? Goff MVP, in the NFC. If he has a couple more games like last night, especially going into the end of the regular season, that conversation will kick up big time. Yes, everybody will point to the bad month that he had, but you know what? They're going to talk about his body of work as a whole. Don't ask me where his season stats are right now, but man, throwing 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, having a near perfect quarterback rating last night, that's going to help your cause. Now, if he can repeat that a few more weeks or anything near it, I mean, probably 5 touchdowns a week isn't going to happen. Won't be unhappy if he does it, but yeah, it's going to change some of the narrative. Boo, what do you got? Corner Blitz was, yeah, the thumbs up all the way. Booth, if he was great, he stood out. And like I said, I haven't rewatched the game tapes or anything like that, but yeah, his impact in the last 2 games has been noticeable. All right, Southwest Bugs is well liked in the locker room. I would agree, and he made a positive impact last night. Although I wish he would have given the ball to a DB on the fumble recovery. Nonetheless, he played well. Yeah, I agree. It's hard to tell somebody once you pick up the fumble recovery to give it up. But man, if you would have given it up to any of those corners around him or safeties, that's probably a touchdown. Probably nobody would have caught it. But things for them to work on and address on in practice. All right, Mike, what do you got? He did throw 5 touchdowns. Correct. Yes, Goff had an outstanding performance. Although I will say this, I'm just dang surprised on 4th and 2 late in the game. You're up significantly that MCDC allowed Goff to go play action pass and find Laporta. But hey, it's the pros. Not everybody's going to take a knee and just say, hey, we got you. We'll pull the dogs off you, whatever you want to say. Angie, that Lions team we saw last night could win a Super Bowl. You're not wrong. If you're that aggressive on both sides of the ball, yes, you run some risks, but you know what? You also run some risks at high impact plays, and that can rattle even a more dominant team. It's going to be interesting to see where we go from here, but Angie, I'm with you. That team last night could be a real threat to any team in the league. All right, Ed, what do you got? The JMO effect. If you target him, someone has to cover him. You are 100% correct there. Which softens the edges for Gibbs to run through or Laporta to fill the gap. Football 101. I mean, you're 1,000% right, Ed. JMO is so rare in his speed that we've talked about it, man. You more often than not are going to have to put 2 people on him in coverage because one guy is going to have a real hard time guarding him all the time. And his ability to separate from people just because of his God-given skill base. Now that you've added some touches to him as far as watching how he's able to set up his change of directions quickly with his elbows to shift momentum. Watch him coming in and out of a break with his footwork. He's really grown, and give this kid some credit. The start of the year, I think a lot of us were probably on him and probably even questioning whether or not he was going to be a bust. That's probably not the case anymore. But he can change coverage in a way very few players in this league can. And because of that, you got two committed to him. You only got 11 dudes on the field. I'm guessing you're probably sending 4 after the quarterback at least. So now that's 6. You only got 5 guys to cover everybody else. And so I agree with you 1,000%, Ed. He's going to really change as he continues to grow and develop and evolve as a player. He's going to change everything about this offense. Doug, what do you got? Bugs' return has helped transform this defense 1,000%, and I hope he stays in that starting lineup for a real long time. All right, Southwest, they got their mojo back last night. They need to bottle it. Yeah, they need to keep it going the rest of the way into the playoffs. If they perform anywhere near last night's level, these final 3 games, they're probably going to win a few. They're going to get the North, and I can't imagine there's too many teams that want to come in here and play. See what shakes out. All right, Boo, what do you got? I thought Bugs might have been thinking lateral, and no one was close enough. Yeah, I mean, he had a freight train around him for a minute, but, give Denver some credit that they caught up to him. All right, Derek, was a great win. 10-4 feels amazing on Minnesota. Yeah, in Minnesota, man, the way they lost, the emotional aspect to how they lost. They're very fortunate. They've got a week off until the next game because, man, just blowing a lead like that in a must-win game, it's going to be interesting paying attention to Minnesota news going into that week because who's going to start at quarterback? What changes are they going to make? They understand they are in absolute desperation station at this point. They have to win out and hope the Lions lose out to have any chance at the North. And I just think, man, I guess we'll worry about Minnesota a different day, but their defense is legit. I think we all get that. But their quarterback play, that's going to have to really rise up, especially if you're going to get Blitzburgy on them. You're going to force some of those less experienced quarterbacks into some real bad spots. All right, T-Born, Dan, you nailed the needed adjustments. Might need you to coach. Maybe at some point, hey, they want to put enough zeros behind that 1 in a paycheck. They can hire me. Obviously, go back to the start of the video. They can find my number. Ed, what do we got? Good ahead and flex. Go ahead and flex them to prime time. That's a real question. Does one of the Minnesota games? I would think you'd have to start off with next weekend's game, wouldn't you, Ed? Flex it to prime time because Lions win that, then the last game of the season in Detroit against Minnesota is almost meaningless unless it somehow impacts seeding for the NFL. But I wouldn't think that would be enough reason if they feel like the Vikings are out of it and have no chance for you to flex that game. I mean, it just would lose its importance. But you might be onto something with that, man. All right, Southwest, whatever anybody thinks about Goff and his lack of athleticism, he is well-liked and respected by his teammates. I would agree with that 1,000%. He showed a lot of character bouncing back. And, yeah, that doesn't get missed on people. I mean, people get he's been through the ringer. People get he's probably been a little bit off mentally and emotionally in the last, month or so, just, dealing with probably the heartbreak of having contract talks, broken off, etc. But you know what? Good for him, man. This isn't LA Goff where that would have kept with him probably for the rest of the season. He trended upwards, but the other part of it is too, I'm going to put some of the blame for Goff's performance in recent weeks on the play calling because I think that impacted his options where to go and stuff exponentially. All right, Brother Ken, according to my math, the Lions only need one more W to win the North. Yeah, they beat Minnesota, then the Minnesota has no chance to win. They only got to win one of those games against Minnesota, and you are 1,000% correct. All right, Robert G. Good morning, crew. I told you, Coach, I had that feeling that they were going to play like they did when they started the season, and they did, man. So yeah, I'll even flash you there. You did a great job with that, man. Now they just got to keep it going, right? All right, 144. What do you got? I'll respect it when it's done against a more established opponent. Fair enough. But you know what? I'll take that win last night 1,000%. That was fun. Aaron, what do you got? Hello, Dan. The offensive line was giving Goff time to throw the ball. Excellent. Yeah. And like we've said, Goff is a wee bit different when you give him 2 to 3 or 4 seconds from time to time. All right, John, what do you got? Greetings and salutations. I can only say, wow, yeah, that was a dominant performance. Saturday night, prime time, nation watching. And if you don't watch the Lions or pay attention to them regularly, and you're hearing people say negative things about them, you watch that game, you're like, what in the heck are you talking about? That team is got to be one of the best ones in the league. And you look at the NFL standings, and you know what? Detroit Lions are one of the best teams in the NFL. All right, JDC, don't scoff on Goff. Well done. He'll get the job done eventually. He did. He came on through, man. Southwest, I thought Dorsey played well. I'd like to see them get Norsky onto the mix. He's another big, athletic, big, fast guy. You got a point there, and I just wonder. Obviously, Dan Campbell raved about the kid when they got him. At what point does he get unleashed? I get he's probably on special teams and stuff and doing things well there. But you know what? At some point, we might see him. You're correct. Duncan, all right, now we got the show going. It is Super Bowl or bust time. Gary, welcome back, Lions. That's the Lions no one wants to play. Yeah, you're 1,000% right. Right now, I bet you the Lions are probably, from NFL coaching standpoints, anybody who's playing them in the upcoming weeks or potentially the playoffs, they're going to be analyzing that film a lot, along with other film. Don't get me wrong, but that one's going to be torn apart quite a bit and edited. All right, Big M, what do you got? Good morning, Dan. Woo! Big team win. That is how you go out there and beat a pretty good Denver team. Rookies showed out. Goff silence critics. Yeah. Let's talk about the rookies real quick. Anybody disappointed with the top 4 picks at this point? I think it'd be tough to be disappointed with them. We can all say, hey, we could add this player, that player, but man, look at what Gibbs and Laporta are doing. Look at what Branch has done. I'll say this for Jack Campbell. He might have tons of stats all over the place or whatever, the highlight splash plays, but he has improved. You got to believe he's going to continue improving. It's hard to really find fault with those top 4 picks. And you know what? If Broderick Martin ends up in the next, the rest of the season or next season, starting to emerge and evolve, you go into a draft and you get this kind of return on your investment from that many picks on a team that's established. A couple of years ago, you guys heard me say it before in the past, it was easy to become a rookie and have an impact on the Detroit Lions roster because there was just no talent on that roster when MCDC, Brad Holmes, first got here. But each year they've hit on the draft. You've got more and more guys impacting. It now gets harder for rookies to come in and get starting spots or big impactful roles. I'm going to say this. I know a couple of you guys had a question last night. Is Gibbs better than D-Monty? Should Gibbs be just getting more and more of the reps? I wouldn't go there just because I want to keep them both fresh. But I would say you can start making a point that he might be running back A and Montgomery B in Detroit because, man, that kid, he's looking pretty dang special. And I know they talked about it at some point in the game last night, asking who you could compare him to. And when somebody said Chris Johnson, I was like, you know what, that's a pretty good comparison because both of them, man, you do not want those dudes getting in the open field on you. All right, what do we got, Robert? These are not the Lions of the past. No, the Lions of the past would have folded in that moment. But you know what? They rose to the occasion. And you know what? It's going to be fun watching these last several games before the playoffs. All right, like the change of how Sutton is being used. Yeah, they moved him around last night. But when you play man-to-man, it's easier to do that. And I would agree with you. They let him travel last night, and he had a pretty good game. All right, Southwest Brad Holmes has done an outstanding job as GM. No GM is going to hit on all picks, trades, and free agent acquisitions. But there's enough talent in the team right now to make it run in the postseason. There is, especially if you're going to keep throwing haymakers at other teams and keep them off balance and keep them backpedaling. All right, Aaron, what do you got? What a great win, brother-in-law. And I was celebrating with a couple of beers in Australia. I hope you had a good time, man. Hope you had a good time. And, man, I can only imagine what time it was when the game went on, when the game started for you down there. So that had to be a late one for you, or early one, I guess it would be. Gary, what do you got? Good morning. Nickname Jameer the Greyhound Gibbs. Yes, yeah, flat speed. Yeah, he's got it, man. And man, and he's more durable than I'm guessing probably most people thought about. He was bouncing off dudes and didn't seem to affect him whatsoever, and it has in the season. Gary, gotta love Bugs. Someone tackled me before I passed out. Yeah, he needed a breather. That's not really his forte, running 70 yards. All right, Dave, what do you got? The Lions were a little better about running the ball more. Finally, yeah, they balanced things out. They were aggressive early to pull coverage and move the Denver defense around. After that, that aggression paid off for the running game. Gary, S little too much blitzing last night, but we had to bring pressure. Yeah, they did. They did, and they got home more often than not. Big M Denver riding back to Colorado with a big L. Yes, they are. And they were such a story in the last 2 months as far as getting back into playoff race after 1-5 and all that stuff. But man, that last might have been their version of the Carolina game a year ago, if you guys remember that, for Detroit, which I'm sure most of us do. JDC Bugs is rumbling, bumbling, stumbling. Yes, he was, man. That would have been if Bourbon does something, that would be perfect in that scenario. Jason, greetings and salutations from Cancun. Hopefully you're having a great one. I swear I almost got a noise warning for clapping so loud at the resort. Let's keep it up. Yeah. Yeah, I got to imagine, like everybody, man, you unleashed a lot of pent-up energy, frustration with this team over the last month. And, yeah, it felt good to get that out. All right, Robert and Gary, I thought Hot Wheels, but Greyhound sounds good too. Go with it, man. Bit lady, good morning, Coach. In the hospital with COVID. Hope you're doing okay. But what a great complete game for Detroit. I can't think of anyone on Detroit who had a bad game. Everyone chipped in. Have a good one, Coach. Hopefully you feel better and rest up. So we'll see you on the show. Hopefully you can just kick back and relax, listen, and get over the COVID. So that's never any fun. Southwest. If there is a bright side to Bugs not playing for several games, he got more energy for the stretch run and postseason. That's a fair point. Yeah, his body's going to be real rested. He's going to be energized, no aches or pains. So you are 100% correct on that. JDC, he's gone. Gibbs, yeah, he is. He can, man, that dude can fly. Big M, didn't really hear a whole lot out of Sutton or other receivers. Vildor did well. They did. Him, Dorsey, R. Sutton, I thought, man, they played pretty well. Silver, all good, all great, but can somebody explain to me that going on 4th and 2 at the end of the game instead of kicking a field goal, that was humiliating for the Broncos. Yeah, I was talking to the Sarge about that. I think after we went off the air last night, to me that almost felt like rubbing it in a little bit. So I don't know. It was close to borderline, kind of, to me, kind of distasteful, but at the same time, it is the NFL. It is the pros. Hey, I don't know. I was dang surprised by it from a coaching standpoint, especially since these guys are friends. If they weren't friends, I totally get it. But yeah, I don't know. I'll leave it alone. It is what it is at this point. All right, Southwest Bit Lady, feel better. Yeah, everybody feel better. I hope wishing you feel better. Silver plus that crushes the confidence for the kicker, and you are going to need him. Yeah, I'm surprised they did it, unless I didn't notice anything or hear anything that Badgley even like pulled a muscle or something like that. But it is what it is. I mean, hey, it's not what I would have done. Not in that situation. All right, Big M, watching the replay right now. Can't get enough of the Lions beating the Broncos. I may have to try to watch it later today. Gary, what's that I've been wanting to see? Keep pedal to the metal on offense. Yeah, 100%. This is what this was my point when we played the Saints. You get up 21, especially early. That is the most perfect time to be uber aggressive on both sides of the ball, because even if you miss here or there, you still got that cushion of the 21-point lead. Hopefully, this is the start of things to come. Anthony, with the way the defense played, did AG really give Jacobs a fair shake? It's funny how few schematic things can make a lot of players look better. I hope Jacobs isn't done here, because I do like the guy. I do think he's good at some things, even though I get we all have a bad taste in our mouth from his performance as of late. But to your point, would he have looked vastly different if we were Blitzburg in those situations? I will. The only thing I will say bad about Jerry Jacobs is I don't think he's really great at man-to-man coverage. But if you match him up with better matches, like say the number 3 or 4 receiver from the other team, I do believe he would look better. All right, Southwest, you have to make the quarterback uncomfortable. Agreed. Last night the Lions did that. They did in a hurry. All right, Silver Server, keep Iffy and Kirby. Even when CJ comes back, go Iffy. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they move them. I have no doubt all 3 are going to play, but where do you move them? Because you got those 2 playing or those 3 playing. You got Sutton playing. That's 4. And now Brian Branch 5. I mean, I guess when you got enough talent, you'll find a way to get them out on that field. Anthony, hey, $2. Thank you for that. I might have a victory hot dog at the K. John, you man. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it greatly. All right, Big M, Bet Lady, prayers for you. Get well soon. Yeah, make sure you stay hydrated. That's the only thing I'd say. Having worked in China, and then come back here right when COVID was kicking off, I probably had it, and I didn't know it was COVID at that point. And yeah, I was dang thirsty all the time. So yeah, that's my only advice I can give you. Michael, great win for the North's first place team. Yeah, man, one more win and we got it. And at this point, I get in the season, we probably all feel like the North is locked up. We just got to win one game against the Vikings, all that stuff. But let's also be fair. When you haven't done something in 30 years, it needs to be celebrated. So hopefully we get the victory next week, put that thing to rest, and then worry about playoff seeding. Or if we can't elevate in the playoff seeding, here's a thought. You basically play the starters on offense and defense just for a half the next 2 games, or maybe half the Cowboys game and then a quarter against or something like that against the last game of the regular season. And how much fresher is this team going into the playoffs? So we'll see how things unfold. Dr. Detroit, welcome to the chat, man. We can get Goff to play like this the rest of the way. He played a masterful game. This is good Goff. Yes, it was. And, I think a lot of it has to help that you unleashed the field on them, not just specific packages or routes. You made it hard for Denver to dial in on what Detroit wanted to do offensively. And when you do that, you keep people guessing. They can't really impose their will because they're backpedaling. All right, Mike, what do you got? Take over Dorsey spot? Maybe. That's a fair point. He might be. But either way, we're going to be a lot more talented in that secondary than we've been in the majority of the season. And you now have depth. So these are all good things heading to the playoffs. Derek, now where does Bug stand? Still want to cut him? Well, I hope they don't at this point. I mean, you got him under contract the rest of this year and the next year. We'll see what they do. But I can't imagine, unless there's another locker room moment or whatever it was, he's not going back to the bench. All right, not unless it's just time for him to sit down after rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, right? Southwest, thank you, Cincinnati Bengals. That was an incredible comeback that they made yesterday. I didn't think there was any way they could come back, but they did. Yes, and now Minnesota, you look at it. I mean, the next 3 games, you're facing teams with a reason to play. Obviously Detroit, 2 of them, and then you got Green Bay sandwiched in the middle. Minnesota's path is not looking so great, and there is a real chance they could lose out. They do that. Do they even make the playoffs? That I don't know. All right, Justin, what do you got? Great game. Both sides of the ball. Feels great to have a W by 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Yeah, kick back, relax, and open up that rooting guide against whoever you want. So start watching those rooting guides and sit back and watch some games and cheer for somebody who's in our way. Anthony, 10-4. I'm excited. They have been sandbagging. I'm excited they have been sandbagging. I would hope not, but maybe they did hold back all this stuff. Could Glenn have done this sooner? Who knows? But if they did, all I'm going to say is I'm glad where we're at now. Where things feel pretty good. All right, Southwest, Dr. Detroit Goff is not the most athletic quarterback, but give him time. He can lead this team. That's the key, though. Prior to last night, I don't think they were protecting him very well. No, and a lot of that is because of injuries on the offensive line. Taylor Deckard's been banged up. You knew Ragnow was out. Jonah Jackson facing some things. Corby Scoresdale, while he's performed admirably for somebody growing as a rookie, not a dominant rookie, you can see where teams really took advantage of him. Day, what do you got? I'd like to see Branch at nickel corner a bit, occasionally having him blitz and drop Hutch into back into coverage behind him. I haven't seen them drop Hutch into coverage like they did last year. He's done it a few times, but not nearly as much as they did later in the year. So we'll see what shakes out. But I got to imagine this could be the potentially start for a little bit more creativity from Aaron Glenn. All right, Dr. Troy. Yes, I agree. Goff will play up to the O-line's protection. Yeah, you protect him, he's good. You don't, hey, that offense goes down in a hurry. Michael, one more win and we clinch. Let's go. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Brother Ken, news from Denver. The Coloradians are mad. They called Wilson every name in the book. I bet they did. He didn't have a bad game, but it wasn't a great game either. Terrence, great game. A lot of exclamation points. I thought we were going to get carved up. Instead, we did the carving. And man, how much different everybody feels this morning. Pat, how it goes this morning. Nice to see J Mo get the ball more. Yeah, 100%. He needs to keep being involved in this offense. Rafty, see what happens when they use all their weapons. Workload management was great. AG was all smiles on the sidelines. He should be, man. And him and MCDC, they used to play, coach for Sean Payton. So I get they have nothing but respect for him. But you also had an opportunity to step up and do something like this. Yeah, that had to feel real good. Dr. Detroit, I think we swept the AFC West and the NFC South. Is that right? I believe so. Can't think of anybody we lost to in either one, but if I'm missing it, guys, let me know. Again, I'm due this morning, so I could be missing things. Anthony, what do you got? Bugs should have been playing games ago. Another AG letting his ego get in the way of the team. Is mama talk. We'll just go with that because I can't say it all. But he is. Yep. I'm just glad he's back, man. Michael, Sammy Laporta working like a veteran out there, especially last night's game. Yeah, he had 3 touchdown catches last night. He's got to be among the league leaders in touchdown receptions. So, what you got out of that kid, what you're getting out of that kid, man, that future is so bright. He may have to wear shades. Hooker time, not yet. Yeah, he might have to wait a bit. Anthony, enjoy your due, Coach. I'm gonna, man, and thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Trey, keep the pressure on Goff. He plays better with a fire under his butt. Yes, he's probably aware of some of the talk around town, media, probably even aware of some of the body mechanics of Dan Campbell when he talked about Hooker. So I agree with all that. All right, Hooker time. We need to sign Amon-Ra St. Brown Superman immediately. Don't wait until his rookie contract is over after next year. Yeah, they'll probably address some things in the offseason. Maybe he gets an extension at that point, but they're probably not going to do it at this point, but probably, this offseason. Hooker time. Man, Cincy wide receiver TD catch was amazing. Yeah, it was. I watched bits of that game, not all of it, but man, they helped us out a ton, unlike the Las Vegas Raiders. If the Raiders, man, could have scored 1 touchdown, this division would already be over. All right, Big M Gibbs is that playmaker that they thought they were drafting, and Laporta is a flat-out beast. Yeah, and we all went into the draft last year saying, man, we need to work on defense. Brian Branch has helped. Jack Campbell's helped. I get it, but I think we all also understand what the Lions scouting department saw in these two and said, yeah, we need to go get them, and they did a great job. AG actually coached a great game. He did. He needs to get some props. I know we've all torn him up. We've all criticized him, pointed out shortcomings, whatever, but he does need to get some props for what the team did last night. Southwest, having more DB blitzes is give the Lions more speed out there. Yeah, a lot more athleticism. And the speed athleticism is what this defense needs. They have it on the roster finally. They're starting to use it. Yeah, and we talked about that. We talked about Jalen Reeves-Maben. I mean, he's probably not an every down backer for you or player for you, but on second and long, third and long, I think, yeah, he can be real impactful. Hooker time, 4-0 in primetime games. Dallas game is on prime time, so Dallas is going down. I like your prediction there. All right, Big M, Detroit looks so much faster than the Broncos looked. Yeah, instead of looking a little bit slower on defense, they look like the more sort of aggressive and, to your point, athletic team. Southwest, I'm hoping that the Lions core players are willing to take less than top dollar. They're going to have to do that if you want to keep the core intact. Yep, and that's. Let's hope they got those kind of guys. Gary, no fourth down and long gambles by MCDC. Nice, yeah. I mean, I guess the only real one they had was the one that Silver was talking about earlier. The late game 4th and 2 touchdown to Laporta in the end zone. I think that's the one I can think of readily off the top of my head. Southwest Seattle plays on Monday Night Football versus Eagles. Yeah, and Seattle loses, then Detroit. Nothing else the rest of the way. We're in the playoffs. Crocodile, do we really want Seattle to lose to Philly on Monday night so we can make the playoffs? Do we? Yeah, you're kind of like in the middle on that, aren't you? You know, fine. You beat Seattle or Philly beats Seattle, you're in the playoffs. If Seattle beats Philly, that's one less team you're contending with for potentially the number 2 seed. So I guess you could argue that we're good in either scenario there. Still think Goff stinks. I would say, hey, everybody's going to have different opinions on Goff at this point. And you know what? Last night we got Detroit Goff, and then we got rid of LA Goff, who kind of reemerged for a few weeks. But yeah, he played phenomenal last night. All right, Southwest. If he doesn't talk smack, but he does let his play do the talking. He does, and he played pretty dang well. Big M, only the second time Goff has thrown 5 touchdowns in a game. They have many quarterbacks can say they've had multiple 5 touchdown games, and Goff is the big enigma at times. He can look so commanding at times, and then obviously other times he doesn't play the greatest. But when he's on, that dude is cooking. All right, Derek, what do you got? Sean Payton made no secrets about running it up on us. I'm glad to see DC learn that lesson from him. Yeah, he went after him, and yeah, to your point, yeah, Sean Payton if he was going to put one on you, he was going to. Instead, he got it put on him. Donber, I'm driving, so I can't interact. Detroit versus everybody. Well, hopefully you're safe driving. Yeah, just listen, Donnie. Don't worry about texting too much. All right, Southwest Big M, give Goff time, and he is capable of playing at an elite level. And he didn't do this against some trash defense. Denver went into that game having a pretty good pass defense. They did, and he had a real good game. Gary, finally, decent targets for JMO. Yeah, I got to imagine that's going to only continue. All right, JDC, it's the happiest I've heard Dan Miller and Lomas Brown sound in a while. Go Lions. Yeah, the last month probably hasn't been the greatest for their work environment. Derek, we ran pick routes finally and opened up the crossing routes for St. Brown Laporta that have been shut down the last month. Yeah, we've been. It's just funny, man, because we were talking about all this prior week how the Lions never won these things. No crossing routes. You got some of the fastest dudes in the league, and you are not putting them in the best positions. And yeah, what did they do last night? And somebody got the cliff notes apparently and said, "Hey, we need to go ahead and do some of this stuff." Frank, what do you got? Where was Jacobs? You guys were right. He was on the sidelines. I think he mostly played special teams. Southwest, Frank Jacobs was on special. Yes, he was. Derek, I would rather have Seattle win at this point and see if we can get the second seed and avoid San Fran as long as possible. Yeah, because you can. All right, Philly loses. You can control your own fate against the Cowboys. Trying to think of any other scenarios. I don't know. It's too early in the morning, but I think you're 100% right with all that stuff. Southwest, Derek, it's in Seattle. The Seahawks need this game a lot more than Philly does. They might be able to pull it off. They might be able to, yeah. Seattle does provide some problems for teams. They have played with some of the league teams in the league. They just also have come on the short side of some stuff here. All right, guys, it's about due 30 for me on a Sunday morning, closing in on 50 minutes in. Sorry, cutting it off a little bit early, but, man, I'm running on fumes here. I stayed up, did the post-game show, all that stuff. If there is some breaking news today, I'll hop back on and try to get it on to you guys as quick as possible. It's a lighter coaching and work day for me, so it'll be a little bit easier for me to do that. Hope you all have a great one. Get those rooting guides out and try to cheer on the team. That's one of the best parts about this time of year. We're not really talking about the draft too much. We're talking about playoffs, and we're talking about seeding. two things that rarely are conversation hot points with Detroit Lions. So go enjoy your days. Relax, kick back, do whatever you're going to do. I'm going to go have a morning Mountain Dew. If you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Trying to get whatever it was when we started the show, like 10 more subs to get to 4,800. And then the march is on. We need 200 at that point to get to 5,000. Really hoping we can pull that off before the end of the regular season. Take care, everybody. Hit that thumbs up button, and I'll see you on the next Lions Talk Live. See y'all.